Hey everybody, my name is Michael. I am one of the customer success managers here, and can't thank you all enough for taking the time to meet. Great to see some familiar names on the call, and a pleasure to meet everybody that I haven't had a chance to connect with. So as Skylar mentioned, the goal of today's session is to go over some of the lesser known features within SeekOut that might be easily overlooked, that can really help out when it comes to running your searches and just ensuring that you're getting the most out of the tool. So real quick agenda. I'm going to be just doing a quick review of our power filters, showing you a power filter that can target folks at startups, as well as the ability to save your own custom power filters. I'll be covering the way that you can organize and order your filters to your personal preferences. And then we're going to be getting into some of the filters within SeekOut, again, that are a bit lesser known. So company alumni, years in current company, years in role. The minimize candidates I've seen filter, which I personally think is wonderful. The groups filter, exclusions, company size. I'm going to get into a bit of the project functionality. And then we're going to just do a quick refresher of a few of the filters that you have access to within GitHub. Just to kick things off, want to cover the power filters. Now, I always personally recommend that when it comes to getting your search started, that you first take a look at the power filters SeekOut offers. If you go ahead and click on the button, more power filters, this window pops up and you've got a lot of options. Quick recap. What we're doing with these power filters is building out some very complex and sophisticated Boolean strings, and then going ahead and laying these characteristics, skill sets, titles, and other characteristics over top of them. So that with just a click of a button, you can go and have a pool of applicable candidates or talent populating for you. And then from there, you can drop any specific keywords in Boolean here in the search box, or toggle on some different filters down along the left-hand side to narrow things down. So we've got some general filters, some security clearance filters, a handful of software development power filters, some engineering-centric filters, some corporate G&A, more business operation role power filters, and then we've got our company and industry-specific power filters. Recently, we did roll out some startup power filters, and what these are going to do are target prospects who are either current or past employees of a startup. You can look for current startup employees, or if you want to find those folks who have been at startups in the past, have picked themselves up by the bootstraps, worked at a startup, you can go ahead and do that as well. When it comes to leveraging these, you can see we've got some options: early stage, mid stage, and late stage startups. And the logic behind these filters is being built out by data from Crunchbase. So just wanted to call these out as they are kind of new, and they can be easily overlooked, but this would be just a really great place to find that talent who have worked at a startup, have likely held many hats, and aren't afraid to kind of get their hands dirty and potentially speak up and be a really great employee at a larger organization. You do also have the ability to go ahead and save any mixture of power filters as a custom power filter for yourself. So just for example's sake, let's say that I'm looking for a candidate who has a STEM grad, has experience with front-end frameworks, and let's look for that candidate who's at a mid-stage startup currently. If I go ahead and click done, and I run this search, at the very top here, if I simply click on save search, in the bottom left-hand corner, I have the ability to save it as a power filter. And I can now title this STEM grad front end startup. I can throw a quick description in there. So we'll just copy that. Drop that in. You have the ability to set the category that you'd like to attach this to. I'm just going to go under general. So that now when I click save, let's see. Let's do custom, click save. Of course, in my demo, it would error out on me, but just for example's sake, when this would go ahead and save, it would be under custom, and then it would be here for me to then go ahead and access. So that was just a click of a button. That pool of 28,000 candidates would then populate for me to go ahead and search across. So really the idea behind the power filters is that you can approach your searches from a very effective, efficient way by just clicking on a button, getting that broad pool, and then dropping in any specific keywords and Boolean here to the search box, or toggle on some different filters down along the left-hand side to narrow things down. Now, the filters here on the left-hand side of the page, you can always go ahead and customize these to your personal preferences. If you just scroll down to the bottom and you click View All Filters, this window pops up. On the right-hand side of this filter customization window, we give you about 40 different filtering options to choose from. Some that are very unique to SeekOut that we'll be covering today, but I definitely recommend that you go ahead and take a look at some of your options here. And let's just say, for example's sake, that I wanted to be able to filter my candidates by their major. If I go ahead and check that box, you'll notice that the major filter now populates at the bottom of my filtering options. If I click on these 6 dots, I can then drag and drop and organize those filters to my personal preferences. And then if there are any filters that you'd like to get rid of, you can just simply click on the X, click Save, and now those filters are saved accordingly and to your personal preferences. So again, completely customizable. You just want to come down, click View All Filters, and then from the filter customization window, go ahead and order things to your personal preferences. All right, so getting into some of those filters that can be easily overlooked and might be a bit lesser known here. The first one that we're going to cover, and please pardon my scroll as I'm going through the session today, is going to be the company alumni filter. Now, with this company alumni filter, you can look for folks who are alumni of your current company or maybe alumni of a competitor company. So just for example's sake, let's say that I want to look at folks formerly employed at Microsoft. It pulls up just shy of 166,000 alumni of Microsoft. And let's drop this down to folks who have left within the past 5 years. This is going to pull up 62,000 candidates. And then from here, maybe I want to see my female candidates. So I can check that box. And then let's just say, for example's sake, jumping into my power filters, that I want to see somebody who has experience as a technical program manager or product manager. If I just click that box and click done, it now drops me down to these 665 candidates who have experience as technical PMs and are female, and again, left Microsoft within the past 5 years. So that now if I jump into my insights feature, I can get a sense of, all right, where are they employed now? We can see the different titles that these candidates have. We can get a diversity breakdown for this pool, past companies they've been employed at. Obviously, Microsoft is going to be up at the very top there, past titles they've held, and then a few other data points as we go on down the page. So if your organization has any boomerang initiatives, this filter can be an extremely easy and efficient way to find some of those potential boomerang candidates. And then coupling this company alumni filter with the insights can also be extremely valuable to understand, all right, where are we losing talent to? As I said, this can also be used from a competitor standpoint to get a sense of where are our competition losing folks to. So really, really useful filter. Again, that's the company alumni. I'm just gonna clear that out. Pulls me back out to my candidates. The next two filters I want to cover are years in company and years in role. So a lot of times we have folks asking, well, I want to find folks who aren't, job hoppers or candidates who have experience with a specific skill set in their current role. So if you go ahead and couple the years in role filter with the years in current company filter, again, these are just two ways that you can really hone in and narrow down on a specific skill set or find candidates who may have been at their organization for maybe 5 to 7 years and might be looking to make that jump to a new organization. Again, these aren't default filters, so you will just want to come down, click View All Filters, and if you just come up to the top, you can go ahead and then select these filters to populate on the left-hand side of your filtering options. All right, let's see. The Minimize Candidates I've Seen filter. Now just bear with me one moment. I'm just going to jump back out to my pool here. With the Minimize Candidates I've Seen filter, this is just a really efficient and easy way to help keep yourself organized as you're running searches within SeekOut. You've got some options. So you can do shrink if I've already viewed. And I'm just going to take Dorothy as an example, where if I click directly on her name, that goes ahead and takes me right out to her public LinkedIn profile. So that now if I come back and check shrink if I've already viewed, Dorothy's profile is grayed out since I viewed her LinkedIn directly from SeekOut. You can also go ahead and narrow candidates down by if they're in any project or in a specific project. And if you do narrow candidates down by if they're in a project, they will be grayed out, similar to like Dorothy is here. And it'll also give a quick tag to let you know which project you have that candidate in. So the shrink if in a project, again, I think is wonderful. It's just a really great way to keep yourself organized, ensure that you're not adding the same candidate to multiple projects. And it's also just another great reason to be sure that you're dropping candidates into projects so that you can go ahead and leverage that filter. All right. Next up is going to be our groups filter. So with the groups filter, this is taking a look at specific groups that candidates are members of within the LinkedIn community. So as you can see with my technical PM candidates here, a number of them are members of the project manager network, as well as some of the other ones here. So this is just a really unique way to find candidates based on any specific groups they might be a member of. And if you go ahead and actually couple this with our People Insights feature, again, pardon my scroll. Just going to go down to the bottom of my insights here. There we go. It gives you the ability to check out these groups, and then you can go into LinkedIn and find other potential candidates who might be a good fit for that role that you might be sourcing for or are a member of that specific group within LinkedIn. Also, by leveraging LinkedIn groups, it's a way that you can reach out and engage two candidates, because if you are a member of the same group as a candidate, you do have the ability to send them a LinkedIn in-mail, and you don't need to be a connection. So just a little tip there, a little workaround to go ahead and, again, potentially find some fresh faces and also engage with candidates. And just two more filters that I wanted to cover real quick. That's going to be the exclusions filter. And this gives you the ability to exclude recruiters, folks in sales, and then exclude any executive or C-suite leadership. Particularly, this exclude recruiters filter can be extremely valuable because if you've ever sourced for a technical candidate or maybe a candidate who had a security clearance, more often than not, those recruiters are listing the skill sets or the clearance levels that they're searching for. And so this is just a really, really good way to ensure that those candidates aren't populating, or excuse me, those prospects aren't populating in your pool. And again, that's just the exclusions filter. And then the final one that I wanted to cover was company size. Now, this goes up to 10,000 plus, but if I wanted to find folks who are maybe at an organization between 500 and maybe 750, I can go ahead and just drag that on down. There we go. This is again going to pull up those candidates who are currently employed in an organization that, again, isn't enormously large. So maybe they're open to potentially making a jump to a larger organization or a smaller organization, depending on what you're sourcing for. And then again, this filter in conjunction with some of the other ones is just a really easy and unique way that you can go ahead and find some potentially fresh faces. All right, before I move on, any questions with regards to those filters that I've covered, how you can customize any of your filters here? Any thoughts on this? Hopefully this is useful. Skylar, anything in the chat that we need to address?
No questions as of now.
All right, fantastic. So moving along, I'm just going to jump into a bit of the project functionality. And I'll just open up a project that I had built earlier. All right. So when you're within a SeekOut project, you do receive a bit of functionality that you wouldn't get if you were to run a search and things like that. So within a project, you have the ability to set statuses for candidates to go ahead and keep yourself organized. If you click more on a candidate's profile, you can also add any notes or comments to candidates' profiles. Keeping in mind, notes are local. Only the user applying a note to a candidate's profile is able to see that. Comments, on the other hand, can be seen by anybody that you are sharing a project with. And I'll be showing you how to do that in just a moment. You also have the ability to let us know if contact information is incorrect on a candidate's profile, or if there's incorrect information on a candidate's profile, or if there's anything that we may have mismatched. To go ahead and do that, maybe I'll just say Alan's profile is outdated. Drop a quick comment in here. Or 6 months ago. And then when you go ahead and submit that, that comes directly into our product team. And they're then able to go ahead and act on that information accordingly. So again, just a really quick and easy way for you to give us some feedback if there is incorrect information on a candidate's profile. And then you do always have the ability to share a project with a colleague or a hiring manager just by simply clicking View Sharing Details, checking this box, and sending them this unique link. Keeping in mind, whoever you send that link to does not need to have a SeekOut license. If they don't have a SeekOut license, once they click on that link, they'll just be prompted to enter their first name, email address, and create a password for themselves, essentially just making a view-only SeekOut license. So then once they've gone ahead and done that, the view that they'll see is exactly what we have here. So it's just a very clean, clear, and concise way to allow your colleagues to review the candidates that you're sourcing. This is, in my opinion, a much cleaner view than a spreadsheet that you might be able to share. And when it does come to sharing this project, you do have options. So you can have it be that whoever you're sharing this with can only view these candidates. You can toggle on the ability for them to comment on these candidates, hopefully cutting down some back and forth via email or instant message. And then we have an editing option. Now, the editing option will only work with another fully licensed SeekOut user, but what that will give you and your colleague who has a full SeekOut license the ability to do is collaborate around building a candidate pool within one project. And then we also have our bias reduction mode, and you'll notice when the bias reduction mode is enabled, it turns everybody's profile picture to a cat, their first and last name to their initials, and it removes any personal information from a candidate's email address, just to ensure that any opinions and decisions are being formed and made based strictly on a candidate's experience and education, ultimately aiming to remove any unconscious bias that might be present with whoever you're sharing this project with. And when it does come to that bias reduction, you do have the ability to customize what is being hidden. So if we wanted to hide where candidates have attended school, links to social profiles, again, completely customizable, totally up to you. And that's really just a very unique way to remove that unconscious bias. Also within projects, you'll notice on the left-hand side here that the search that I ran to find these 10 candidates automatically saved within my project. So what that means is that anytime you are running a SeekOut search and you're adding a candidate from that search to a SeekOut project, that search will automatically save within the project for you to then easily reference back to. You can also go ahead and search within your project based on any specific keywords or Boolean. You can also sort by any statuses that you've applied to candidates, as well as a few other ways to sort through any projects that you've built out. Skylar, I saw a few things coming in on the chat. Anything that needs to be addressed or?
Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about one of these questions here. So can we sort candidates by date added if I think we're looking, you're nodding your head like you know what he's asking. Great.
Yeah, great question. Candidates will always be added to the project in a chronological order. So you'll notice that on candidates profiles, we do have that timestamp of when they were added. So again, as you're adding candidates to a project, the newest ones will be at the top. And we should have some more filtering options available coming to y'all down the road here where you can sort alphabetically. If you wanted to do it in reverse, so instead of having candidates added chronologically, you can have those folks who are added to the project initially at the very top. That is something that we have received from some of our users. So it's something that we are aware of and will be working on.
And another question here, if a candidate is not a match, do we have an option to hide them in our future searches?
So we don't have the ability for you to necessarily hide them. However, you could add a tag or a comment to a candidate's profile just so that you know that person's not a fit. What some people have also done is created a project for a specific rec that's titled like, job rec 456, candidates who aren't a fit, but might be a fit for a role down the road. And when you do go ahead and do that, you would then have the ability to leverage the minimize candidates I've seen filter and shrink candidates based on that not a good fit for that specific rec project. So a few different ways you can kind of work through that. It honestly is really up to your workflow and whatever makes the most sense.
Thanks, Mike. That's it for now.
All right, fantastic. Also just want to quickly cover our upload candidates feature. What this functionality essentially gives you the ability to do is act as a bit of a data enrichment. So let's say that you have a project in LinkedIn Recruiter, or maybe a project in your ATS or CRM. If you can download those projects to a spreadsheet, you then have the ability to go ahead and upload that spreadsheet into SeekOut. We will run a matching algorithm, which will then create a candidate profile within SeekOut as if you had found them via SeekOut search. From there, you can go ahead and pull contact information for those candidates. You can add any notes or comments, things like that. And then you can re-export those candidates that you enriched to then go ahead and work with however you'd like. When it does come to this upload, we do have a sample Excel spreadsheet with the necessary headers that you can go ahead and leverage. The biggest thing with this upload and data enrichment feature is that if you have a LinkedIn link you'll be in really good shape and will 9 times out of 10 be able to run a match for that candidate. But if you don't have a LinkedIn link, the more information that you can fill in on that spreadsheet, first name, last name, title, current company, location data, it'll go ahead and just make the chances of that match being able to work in a better way. This can also be extremely useful if y'all are having any virtual events or online webinars. I think we can all agree sometimes the information people are submitting to those can leave a bit to be desired. So this upload feature can be extremely useful in any of those instances. And again, I got there just by doing upload candidates. This will be available in any project that you are running. So a few different ways, again, that you can go ahead and use that. All right, so that's just some of the project stuff that I wanted to cover. And now I'm just going to jump into our GitHub database and use a quick refresher of some of the unique filters that you have here as well. The GitHub database is going to be available to those of us who have either a premium tech or professional SeekOut license. And just a quick recap, the foundation of the data on the GitHub side of the tool is coming directly from a candidate's GitHub profile in the form of the top code and scripting contributions they've made to the GitHub community, as well as the top repositories they've contributed code to. We've then gone ahead and pulled these candidates' relevant experience and education from LinkedIn to go ahead and paint as complete a picture as possible of these technical candidates, and also give you some really great ways to filter across these technical folks. So the one thing that you will notice is that on the GitHub side of the tool, we've gone ahead and given all of the candidates here a SeekOut coder score, and also ranked and rated their language experience and expertise. Now, the way that we've calculated these scores is we've taken a look at how many contributions a candidate has made to GitHub, how often those contributions have been copied, reviewed, and ultimately used by the wider GitHub community to really get a sense of how active and influential these candidates are. So let's just say, for example's sake, I'm just gonna run a quick example search here, that I'm looking for a candidate who has experience with, let's say, full stack technologies. And if I come on down to my coder score filter here, I can toggle this up to 4 out of 5 stars. And this is now going to pull back the 2 million candidates worldwide who are experts and masters when it comes to using full stack technologies within the GitHub community. These are also going to be the candidates who are extremely influential and very active in discussions within GitHub who have that full stack experience as well. And then this language expertise filter, I am personally a huge, huge fan of. If you've ever been on a training with me, you've definitely heard me talk about this. The reason I'm such a big fan of this language expertise filter is that, let's just say that I need a candidate to have experience coding with Python. If I check this box, this now pulls back the 1 million candidates worldwide who have experience coding with Python. And then I can go ahead and toggle that Python score up to 5 out of 5 stars. And this now drops you down to those cream of the crop, best of the best candidates who have that experience coding with Python, coupled with that 4 out of 5 star full stack coder ranking. Now, this language expertise filter can be extremely valuable because it's looking at candidates who have direct contributions in the language that you've selected. And it's not just a keyword on their LinkedIn profile, since this is based directly on those code contributions that candidates have made to GitHub. And then by toggling the score up to 5 out of 5 stars, I know that these candidates who are populating are the best of the best when it comes to coding with my selected language. Now, the one thing to keep in mind with this language expertise filter is that it does operate as an and, not an or. So if you're looking for candidates who have experience with multiple languages, again, you're just going to want to keep in mind that this language expertise filter operates as an and, not an or. And I've had quite a few users tell me that when it comes to getting searches started on the GitHub side of the tool, the first thing that they do is just come on down to this language expertise filter, enter the language or languages that they're looking for candidates to have experience with, and then start filtering through that pool accordingly, because they can be certain that those candidates they're selecting have the direct hands-on experience coding with that selected language. And as I mentioned before, it's not just a keyword on their LinkedIn profile. Another unique filter here is going to be the profile type filter. And if we go ahead and check unmatched GitHub profiles, this is now going to pull up candidates who we were only able to find within the GitHub community. Now, that doesn't mean that these candidates don't have a private LinkedIn profile, but there's a pretty good chance that the bulk of these folks have never been contacted before by a source or a recruiter, given that we were only able to find a public presence for them on GitHub. So again, that's going to be the profile type filter with unmatched GitHub profiles. And this is just a really great way to find some of those candidates who might not be in your ATS or CRM and have likely never been contacted before by a source or recruiter at your organization. When it does come to using this filter though, one thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is that searching across specific companies, titles, years of experience won't work quite as well, since this filter is basing itself directly on the information on a candidate's GitHub profile, where folks aren't necessarily listing their current companies or their current titles. So you'll just want to do an extra thorough dupe check there if you are leveraging this unmatched GitHub profile filter.